Good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday. I'm Jillian Mealy.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for waking up early with us. And straight to our top story this morning. Explosive new reports claiming the fake Russia dossier, or at least discredited dossier, used to spy on the Trump campaign. We've got some new information about it.
That's right. The bombshell comes as the House is set for a showdown on a controversial vote over the privacy of Americans. Griff Jenkins live in our nation's capital where it's all going down. Hey, Griff.
Good morning, Jillian and Rob. That's right. The House is set for a vote and likely showdown over reauthorization of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, which gives the government counterterrorism tools to spy on the communications of non-citizens outside of the U.S. without having to obtain a warrant. But a group of bipartisan lawmakers led by Republican Justin Amash are seeking significant reforms to the act, offering an amendment that would make it harder for intelligence officials to collect communications when it involves Americans.
It's an amendment that will allow the government to continue its surveillance for foreign intelligence, but will provide for a protection when searching on Americans, so that when they want to collect and use data on Americans, they have to get a warrant.
If we do not put the F back in FISA, it becomes ISA, and the American public should know that the eyes are on them.
Forgive the drilling. I continue. This comes as the debate swirls over allegations that the so-called Trump-Russia dossier you mentioned was used as evidence for obtaining a FISA warrant used to spy on the Trump campaign, something House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, you may recall, expressed concerns over in a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein when he demanded Rosenstein turn over subpoenaed documents and witnesses related to the dossier. Now, in a report unconfirmed by Fox News, investigative journalist Sarah Carter told Sean Hannity last night that she has seen evidence that suggests the answer is yes.
I have spoken to a number of sources, one senior law enforcement official and another in the DOJ, and the dossier was absolutely used as part of the FBI's ability to gain a warrant to basically spy on members of the Trump campaign.
And in a press conference yesterday with Norway's Prime Minister, President Trump went on the offensive against Mueller's investigation, calling it again a witch hunt and downplaying questions over whether he will soon be interviewed by Mueller.
Certainly, I'll see what happens. But when they have no collusion and nobody's found any collusion at any level, it seems unlikely that you'd even have an interview.
Now, if it passes the House, the Senate is expected to take up this vote very quickly because the law authorizing FISA expires next Friday, January 19th. Guys?
Interesting stuff, and we're going to dive much deeper into the dossier coming up here in just a few minutes. Griff, thanks so much. President Trump slamming Dianne Feinstein, the senator, for releasing the Fusion GPS testimony. Our commander-in-chief tweeting, the fact that sneaky Dianne Feinstein, who has on numerous occasions stated that collusion between Trump and Russia has not been found, would release testimony in such an underhanded and possibly illegal way, totally without authorization, is a disgrace. Must have tough primary. She's up for re-election. So what did she make, why, I should say, did she make it public? Well, she says it might have been partly because she has a cold is why she didn't, listen to this.
The one regret I have is that I should have spoken with Senator Grassley before, and I don't make an excuse, but I've had a bad cold, and maybe that slowed down my mental facilities a little bit.
The Democratic lawmaker also coming under fire for working with Fusion GPS to redact large sections of the transcripts, which undercut the argument that the release was done in the name of transparency.
Congress could be on the brink of reaching a landmark bipartisan deal involving DACA and the president's long-promised border wall. Marianne Rafferty joins us now live from Los Angeles. Marianne, we're hearing the Senate could strike a deal by the end of the week.
That's right. Good morning, Jillian. Congress is full steam ahead, hammering out a bipartisan deal to determine the future of the Obama-era DACA program that includes border security, and it could come within the next few days. This after historic televised negotiations between nearly 24 lawmakers where Democrats tried to cut the wall out of the deal. But President Trump still not backing down.
It's got to include the wall. We need the wall for security. We need the wall for safety. We need the wall for stopping the drugs from pouring in.
Now, the House echoing that call, unveiling its bill that includes a $30 billion budget for the border wall and security priorities.
This bill funds the border wall and secures ports of entry along the southern border. It also increases boots on the ground and support from the National Guard. Our bill ends chain migration and the visa lottery program. This bill provides DACA recipients a reasonable, long-term legislative solution, ensures that DACA recipients don't get a special pathway to citizenship.
This as the Senate claims they're also on the brink of landing a deal.
We're closer. We have the 4 items, the border, chain, visa lottery, and DACA. And we're very, very close.
President Trump also reacting to a federal court's decision halting the administration's ability to rescind DACA. Quote, it just shows everyone how broken and unfair our court system is when the opposing side in a case such as DACA always runs to the Ninth Circuit and almost always wins before being reversed by higher courts. Now, lawmakers also have just 8 days before a government spending bill is also due on January 19th. Jillian?
All right, Marianne, thank you. Democrats holding a rally outside the Capitol demanding protection for the nearly 800,000 DACA recipients.
And we must have a law that says unequivocally that they are Americans, because they are.
Charles Hurt, opinion editor for The Washington Times, says the left has refused to compromise with the president.
Democrats have refused to negotiate, refused to come to the table, and we can argue about whether they've been invited to the table or not, but they've refused to participate in any of this legislation. What Donald Trump did in that optic way that he's very good at issues, and he feels very confident that he'll win on those issues, and that to me is the most important thing out of that, and I think that it puts real pressure on Democrats to actually sort of try to figure out ways that they can give.
The government is set to run out of money January 19th. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says a DACA fix must be included in a spending bill.
A Fox News alert, an urgent travel warning for U.S. tourists. The State Department issuing a do not travel advisory for 5 crime-ridden states in Mexico, one of them bordering the United States, giving these states the same threat level as countries like Syria and Afghanistan. This is 5 different sections of Mexico. The states are considered hotspots for drug cartel activity, trafficking routes, carjackings, and robberies as well. The U.S. government has limited capabilities to provide help to U.S. travelers in these areas, and they simply want tourists to stay away.
A shooting in Afghanistan now under investigation after a U.S. soldier appears to fire into a civilian truck. Now, it's unclear if anyone was hurt, and the Pentagon has not verified the video. But the Department of Defense saying, quote, this video does not represent the professionalism or humanity of the men and women of U.S. Central Command. We reject the unprofessional and callous message this video conveys.
Vice President Mike Pence will lead our nation's top athletes at the Olympics in South Korea coming up just next month. But supporting the American delegation will not be his only mission while there.
The message the president sent me to deliver a year ago is the same that I will deliver when I arrive in Korea again and I visit Japan again, and that is that the era of strategic patience is over. President Trump has brought unprecedented economic and diplomatic pressure to bear on the regime in Pyongyang. We will continue to do that.
North Korea has agreed to send a delegation to the Games after historic talks with the South. The two nations now considering walking together in the opening ceremonies. Wouldn't that be something? Jared Kushner turning his attention towards prison reform. The senior advisor will meet today with President Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions to share his ideas on the issue in a listening session. The administration hoping prison reform will allow them to cut crime and also save money. This is a personal issue for Kushner, whose father was sentenced to 2 years in prison for tax evasion.
Another political shakeup coming out of California for the second time this week. Republican Congressman Darrell Issa announcing he will not run for a 10th term. His retirement follows Republican Ed Royce, who announced he will also leave Congress. The 2 open seats now serious targets for Democrats who need to flip at least 24 seats to gain control of the House during the midterms.
Looking tougher and tougher for the Republicans in 2018. All right, 11 minutes after the hour, new pressure on the FBI to even the playing field and release classified documents documents related to the Trump-Russia dossier. The man behind that pressure, Congressman Ron DeSantis, joins us live next.
And liberal New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio humble bragging about going green, but global warming advocates, they're not buying it. We'll tell you about it. Declassifying the dossier in a letter to Speaker Paul Ryan, Representative Ron DeSantis wants the FBI and DOJ to stop stonewalling Congress, saying the American people deserve answers.
He's now calling for all documents be released as brand new reports confirm that the Trump-Russia dossier was used to gain access to spy on the Trump campaign.
Congressman DeSantis joins us live now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So you sent this letter to Speaker Paul Ryan asking that all of the documents are declassified. Why did you do this?
The American people have a right to know how this investigation was started, obviously whether the dossier was used and who was using it. I mean, the fact that it was used in part to get surveillance on Americans is very, very concerning because this was a document that was funded by the Democratic Party. It was an opposition research document to try to politically harm then candidate Donald Trump. But there's a whole other batch of questions that flow from that. What was the role of Peter Strzok, the infamous FBI agent who talked about needing an insurance policy to prevent the election of Donald Trump, who had met with Lisa Page and Andrew McCabe and was doing the text messaging? What was the role of Bruce Orr, the high-ranking Justice Department official whose wife was one of the researchers working on this dossier for Fusion GPS? What interactions did the Bureau and or the Obama Justice Department have with Christopher Steele? How much was he paid? Was he paid? So we need answers to all of those questions. And what was submitted to the FISA court is important. I think that's probably the most important question. But I think there are a whole host of other questions that the American people want to know. And what it will end up telling us is, was this really a strong, legitimate investigation from the start, or was the FBI grasping at straws because people like Peter Strzok were opposed to President Donald Trump?
Okay. Well, I mean, we now see that the dossier was used to gain the access. That was the proof, I guess, that they said that they needed to spy on the campaign. I want to take you back to a vintage Donald Trump tweet, an old favorite that really made some waves. Let's pull it up here. Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Talking about basically there was no basis to spy on me, calling it McCarthyism there. When this tweet came out, so many members of the media started thinking that the president might actually be paranoid, crazy, and now we later learn that, in fact, there was spying on the Trump campaign. We don't know if it was wiretapping, but we start to see that tweet held water. How interesting is that at this point, 10 months later, to figure all this out?
And the thing is Carter Page, which has been reported that he was the subject of the surveillance, the FBI had tried to get surveillance on him prior to them taking possession of the dossier, and they failed. The court did not grant the surveillance, and that's actually odd. Usually the court grants it because the government tends not to go to the court unless it has, a really good bundle of evidence. Well, in this case, they didn't have it, so they came up short. So this dossier was kind of the key that they used to unlock this. And then, obviously, you have surveillance on somebody associated with Donald Trump. But, yeah, I remember the reaction. Everyone said he was totally off his rocker. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the more we learn about this, the more questions that have been raised. And now with the reports that are confirming the dossier was used, I mean, this is really just the beginning of a whole host of things that are going to have to be done to straighten this process out.
Let me ask you something. What message does it send, in your opinion, if the documents are not declassified?
Well, here's the thing. We are going to get access probably to the whole Congress soon, I think. But I think the public has an interest in seeing how this investigation was undertaken. And this is all being done pursuant to House rules. We have the authority to do this when the public interest requires. So I want the American people to know. I think a lot of Americans will trust what folks are saying because I don't think there's going to be much conflict about what's in the documents. But I think it would be useful to do it. And you can do it in a way if there's certain things that don't have public value but might be cause problems for the Bureau and how they do business, I mean, you can do it in a way that protects those interests as well.
I just have to ask you one more question, if you can give me a really quick answer. The fact that the FBI, that it looks like the FBI was talking to Papadopoulos, does that give any credit to the Democrats' side in their argument, the stuff that we learned from the Feinstein release?
Here's the issue with Papadopoulos. He's drunk at a bar. He was an unpaid advisor in London, and he says, oh, the Russians have dirt on Hillary. That in and of itself is a very, very weak reason to launch a federal investigation. And so I think the documents will show us whether that's true or not.
Sir, thank you so much for coming on this morning. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, 20 minutes after the hour, White House Chief of Staff John Kelly taking new measures to plug leaks in the West Wing, the technology blackout that is now coming into the White House.
And our very own Janice Dean going viral after standing up to a social media bully. She is here live to tell her story. Coming up next, you show those legs, Janice. How Bill de Blasio is now coming under fire. What's this about?
That's right. Well, major flaw with that idea. Let's take a look at some of these tweets. Jerry says, wouldn't turning the lights off be the green thing to do? Johnny on Twitter also says, excellent. I shall blast my furnace and turn in every light on the house as a show of support. And Silver Patriot says, just a hunch, but I'm willing to bet your light show isn't powered by wind or solar, is it? So fighting global warming by turning on the lights.
Typically,
interesting one.
Yeah, and then on the green day, don't we turn all the lights off? Isn't that the
You
whole
should
thing?
have seen that one coming.
All right, so no more best friends. Not allowed.
No more best friends. According to a report by U.S. News and World Report, schools in Europe and some in the United States are trying to ban the idea of best friends. So a psychologist named Dr. Barbara Greenberg appears to agree with this idea in part, saying there is something dreadfully exclusionary occurring when a middle schooler tells the girl sitting next to her that she is best friends with the girl sitting in front of them. So this idea is to have a couple close friends instead of one best friend. Do people on social media like this idea, do you think?
Yeah, let me guess.
Not happening. So one person says, what's next? A ban on sleepovers? That would be tragic. And Ralph says, are you kidding me? It is none of the school's beeswax, as we used to say. My best friend from kindergarten is still my best friend. That's the point.
Yeah.
Best friends are a great idea.
I know.
That's impressive.
So our own Janice Dean is going viral because she stood up for herself. We are all so proud.
We are. You know, this store, I think, is going to be all of our favorites. I see Janice Dean right here. We're going to bring her in a little bit to talk about it. It is an incredible story, and it really served a lesson to bullies. So let's just get to it. She received a rude comment on Facebook from a woman named Joanne saying, Dear Janice, please stop allowing Fox to dress you in those short skirts. They are not flattering on you. You're an attractive lady, love the 80s hair, but your legs are distracting every time you walk on screen. That actually hurts me just to read that, to be honest. Well, Janice responded saying, Hi, Joanne. Fox doesn't dress me. I dress myself. I'm sorry if you don't like my legs. I'm grateful I have them to walk with. You're right. I don't look like the typical person on TV, and I'm proud to be a size 10. Imagine that. Janice, you're a beautiful person inside and out, I gotta say. And she really served a big old lesson to those bullies out there. One of her friends, I love this post by Jen Jarvis, says, Dear Janice, I love those strong legs. I love that you stand tall, walk, run, squat, lunge, skip, jump, and hop on those legs. You are blessed and a blessing to have strong legs. Wear skirts proudly and show your strong legs. How do you feel about all the support you've received from this? Because it has been monumental.
Well, now I'm going to start to cry a little bit.
I disagree with you, though. I mean, what do you mean you don't look like somebody on TV? You know how many men out there are obsessed with you? How many ridiculous tweets that we get?
I think because we're on TV, people think that we have armor on us and things don't affect us. I was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, over 10 years ago. So I'm proud of these legs because with MS, truly, my legs could give out on me at any given moment. So I took that to heart. My friend Jen Jarvis she was my first multiple sclerosis doctor, and we're good friends right now. And she has always reminded me to be proud of these strong legs, these big, strong legs. These 47-year-old legs have gotten me through a lot and taken me a lot of amazing places. So, you know what? I think now is the time to be strong. I don't think we should call out everybody on social media. But you know what? We've been told to ignore sometimes. I got to tell you, Jillian here is a boss when it comes to the trolls.
Yeah.
And I've taken a page from her because, you know, I want to be respectful and polite, but I also want to point attention to, you know what? We're not made of armor. These things do affect us, and I am proud. I'm a big, strong
Yes.
leg.
And you know what? They're beautiful legs. You're a beautiful person. And like you said, Rob, I completely disagree with that comment. But there's a way to respond to certain people. And this is a lesson, not even for people in the media, but for just people in general. There's a way to respond to people that really serves, you know, it makes you feel good about standing up for yourself, but also teaches them a lesson.
It's bullying.
And this is something that I think you really inspired a lot of people today, which is why I'm so glad that
Well, can I just say
highlighted the
that
story.
not only do we have strong men here, but here at Fox News, we have the strongest, most awesome women that support one another, and I am so grateful to you and to the wonderful people here at Fox.
And you are-
I will continue to keep standing and kicking and dancing.
You are beautiful, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Love you guys.
We'll be right
that was
back.
great.
Love you.
All right, back with a Fox News alert. The United States intensifying its show of force overnight. The Air Force deploying 3 nuclear-capable B-2 stealth bombers to the Pacific island of Guam, meant to send a very strong message to North Korea. And these are brand new pictures just into the newsroom. There's the takeoff right there. The fighter jets on their way to that U.S. territory that's not too far from North Korea. 200 airmen have also been sent. This comes just days after talks between North Korea and South Korea, and hopefully some progress in that department. The U.S. airstrikes killing 3 terrorists in Yemen. The strikes happening in November and December. We're just getting word now, targeting key leaders of al-Qaeda who are responsible for moving money and munitions in and out of the country. In 2017, the U.S. carried out more than 120 airstrikes in Yemen against al-Qaeda and ISIS, more than triple the number in 2016.
Personal cell phones, laptops, even Apple Watches are being banned from the West Wing. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly is sending out a memo detailing the new rules going into effect next week. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders has denied the rules have anything to do with leaks to the press or Michael Wolff's controversial book Fire and Fury. Huma Abedin and convicted sex offender Anthony Weiner will settle their divorce behind closed doors. Hillary Clinton's top aide decided to finalize the papers out of court to protect their 6-year-old son from the spotlight. Her estranged husband and disgraced former congressman is currently serving 21 months behind bars for sexting a 15-year-old girl.
All right, it is a race against time at this hour to save people who are missing in these Southern California mudslides. The death toll right now stands at 17.
Staggering amounts of rain triggering raging rivers of mud and debris running down hillsides, taking anything and everything with it. The hardest hit area, Montecito, where thousands are now without power. Over 100 homes destroyed and hundreds more damaged.
That's a beautiful area, too. Let's get straight to Janice Dean with the very latest. Janice.
Good morning. And you know what? The good news is the rain has moved out of the way, but because it's a delayed reaction, sometimes we're still going to have the threat for mudslides and debris flows across the burn areas of Southern California. As we move ahead, we do have the potential for more rain in the forecast, but it's going to be across northern parts of California. The remaining area of Southern California, Central California, is going to remain dry. Now, some of that energy from California is moving into the central U.S., giving us a pretty formidable winter storm across areas that don't typically see winter storm watches. Northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Tennessee River Valley, the Ohio River Valley. So watching this storm system because it's going to start off as rain, but the cold air behind it is going to give a changeover of rain to freezing rain, sleet. We could have sheets of ice across the Tennessee River Valley and the Ohio River Valley. The temperatures are going to drop like a rock behind this. So we're watching this area very carefully. Across the East Coast, it's going to be too warm for snow, but by the weekend, the temperatures are going to get cold again. So you can see there are your highs today, that cold air behind the system and that sharp contrast between the very warm air, the colder air behind it. I am worried about ice on the roadways across the Tennessee River Valley, areas that don't typically see that wintertime weather. We'll keep you up to date. Back to you, Rob and Jillian.
All right, Janice, thank you so much.
You got it.
All right, the left called it apocalyptic, but this morning, many Americans, seeing big benefits from President Trump's tax overhaul.
Hardworking American families will receive tremendous tax relief. We lowered our tax rates, nearly doubled the standard deduction, and doubled the child tax credit. Millions of employees in this country are getting $1,000 and more, in some cases, tax bonuses because of the tax cuts.
But Democrats are refusing to give up their assault. The question now, are Americans buying their extreme rhetoric? Here now to weigh in is financial columnist for FoxNews.com, Liz Peek. Liz, thanks for joining us this morning. I mean, look, you see bonus after bonus given out by company after company right now. What gives? Why do you think people on the left are still not happy?
Well, this is poison for Democrats, this GOP tax bill, because, in fact, they are cutting taxes for most Americans. 85% of Americans are going to see lower taxes starting next month in their paycheck. So Democrats have demagogued this tax bill even before it was written, saying it was, to quote Chuck Schumer, a punch in the gut to the middle class. I think what's exciting about what the companies are doing is not just big companies, it's small companies. There's more than 130 companies now across the country, and it's gaining momentum. Millions of people are going to be seeing bonuses in their paychecks. And why is it happening? It's not a PR stunt, is what the Democrats have said. Big companies trying to curry favor with the White House. It's small employers across the country saying, you know what, this is really good for us. We want to share this bounty with our employees. We haven't been able to give them a raise in 8 years because business has been tough. So now we're going to take advantage of this and do this. I think it's organic and it's exciting and it's very powerful messaging.
Yeah.
We also have this bustling economy here,
yes.
Regardless. We've seen it even before the tax cuts. We've seen just everything. Just there's a positivity to the economy right now. But I noticed a poll the other day that showed that more people give credit to President Obama for the state of the economy right now than to President Trump. And I think it's palpable. I think you can feel that the economy has improved underneath this president. I'm wondering if the fact that the current President Trump is so unpopular is the reason that people wouldn't even give him credit for something that they know that he's responsible
There's no question. Look, we have an election coming up, as you may have heard, in the fall, and Democrats are very afraid that with this booming economy, and by the way, the next shoe to fall is that wages are going to start accelerating in the first quarter. I will absolutely guarantee it, because businesses are beginning to invest. That's been the missing link for 8 years. Now with that comes higher productivity and wage gains. Going into the election, it's all about the economy, stupid. If people see their paychecks growing, job opportunities increasing, they're going to vote, I think, for Republicans. To your point, though, Trump is not getting much credit for this, but look back at what happened. The day after the election, the market was up 257 points. More important, consumer and business sentiment soared. It took off in the month after the election, hitting highs we haven't seen in over a decade, and the market followed. So it's not an accident, folks. This all happened because you had animal spirits reignited in this country because of the Trump agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
We wanted to get in also, we have something about we have real quick, if we can, just talk about these energy companies. There's been a number of energy companies that have given back as well. So I mean, there's been a lot of benefits that they're putting the money back into their customers, right?
The utilities have been cutting their rates, and in fact, in some states, the state legislators or the state utility commissions are telling them to do that, recycling the money back into the economy. Again, the exciting thing is this is something no one anticipated. I mean, this is like an extra stimulus from these tax cuts. So yes, and my guess is you're going to see other industries maybe do this too.
Great. Thank you, Liz.
It's very good news for the economy.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're coming right back.
Will the leader of the Democratic Party please stand up? Special Reports' Bret Baier questioning Senators Mark Warner and Elizabeth Warren about who exactly is in charge right now, and neither could really give a clear answer.
What the Democratic Party has at this point is a broad base of leaders that range from very progressive to people who have been traditionally more pro-business.
The right question is, where is the energy in the Democratic Party? And I'll tell you exactly where the energy is in the Democratic Party. It's down at the grassroots. It's down there person by person, family by family, who say, wait a minute, I got a stake in how this government works.
Okay. That's the answer. The Democratic Party still has no clear potential frontrunner for a presidential challenger in 2020, aside from Oprah Winfrey.
Plans for the lavish Obama Presidential Center in Chicago released this week, facing mounting criticism now. More than 100 University of Chicago professors and faculty members writing an open letter arguing the grand-scale project will not help the South Side prosper. One reason, the parking lot. Writing, quote, parking is expensive, and though public lands are being given away, all the profits from this parking lot will go to the Obama Foundation. Overall, this is a socially regressive plan. The plans could be finalized as early as this spring.
A cover-up that spanned 4 U.S. presidents pushed the country's first female newspaper publisher and a hard-driving editor to join an unprecedented battle between journalist and government.
Do you have the papers?
Not yet.